Last but not least, we are working on the human mouth in monochromatic color. So you can see this mouth that I drew earlier, and there's the top lip, the bottom lip, but there's also this thing right here. This is the Cupid's bow, and it's actually the curve that is right under the nose. And if I just repeat that curve again, that kind of gives me the shape, and it sets the tone for other curves that the mouth makes as well. So I always start by just drawing in that Cupid's bow. I'm going to work in white. So the next thing is I'm going to make the top lip. I'm following that same curve again here and here. So I've just repeated it multiple times, and then I'm going to basically make like a rounded heart, and that's going to be the little middle part of the top lip. And then on either side of that, I'm putting kind of elongated, rounded triangles on their sides, and that makes the shapes of the top lip. And then I'm making two oval shapes like these to make the bottom lips. I'm going to switch, and I'm going to get a mid-tone, and I'm going to outline this to create the outer top lip and the outer bottom lip. So notice how I'm using those shapes to kind of guide me to make the forms of each lip. Put my little smile lines in for fun. All right, then the highlights are going to be at the top lip. Gets a little highlight right around the top edge, but it's actually the bottom that gets a bigger highlight, because the bottom lip tends to stick out a little bit more than the top lip. Where the mouth closes, I'm going to put more shadow, and I'm going to use the curves of those forms to kind of help me know where to put the shadow. I'm using a mid-tone here for that. All right. So the curves on the corners, I'm going to put a little shadow in the corners of the mouth too, and a little around here in the Cupid's bow. And underneath, like the bottom lip before the chin starts, I put a little shadow there as well. All right, I'm going to get my darkest tone now to make the separation between the lips. I'm not pushing too hard, but I definitely want to make sure that this shows up. Not pushing with full force, but pretty good pressure here. So I've got my darkest part of the shadow there at the opening of the mouth between the two lips. And then I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow on the corners, and especially around the bottom of the bottom lip. A little bit at the top. Okay. Notice how I'm lightly putting shadow all over into these spaces here. Around the bottom, around the corners, around the edges. I'm leaving the middle. But okay, now I'm going to start to lay in the creases. Your lips kind of have like creases within them, and they kind of bend up on the top lip and around the other way on the bottom lip. And if I make them straight up and down, it'll make it look flat, but if I curve these lines a little bit, it gives the lips more dimension. And I can kind of shade going with the curves of the lines that are within the lips, and that's going to help give them volume, and it'll also give them more texture and detail. All right, notice how I'm just kind of lightly shading, curving with the form. And here's the thing, they don't even, because of the lines there, it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. But I'm going over that highlight a little bit, kind of back and forth. As you're shading, you're going to kind of notice where needs more shadow, where needs more blending. I'm going to get my black, and I'm going to go into the center here to get the detail of the, like, maybe the mouth is just a tad bit open. I really just want to make sure that you can definitely see where the opening is. And I might use a little bit of black to shade into the lip lines around this area as well. Right on the very bottom of the bottom lip, kind of curving it around. You know, I could spend a lot of time again going in and getting all sorts of detail here. I just wanted to kind of map this out for you so that you could see how to do this. I'd go back at the very end after I've got it all done, and I'd put in highlights with white right over it to make the bottom lip kind of pop. Same up here at the very top parts of the top lip. It'll just make it look a little glossier or a little more dimensional. And so that's the basics. Now, around the mouth, I could go in and do some shading around the mouth to give it some skin kind of texture around it to differentiate between where the lip is, or the vermilion, which is the line that separates the edge of the lip from the skin. I might go in and just kind of define that edge a little bit. And I've also kind of like curved back and forth here to put a little bit more shadow from the Cupid's bow as well as underneath the bottom lip. Now, how I make these lips, the different little pieces that we use to break that down, I'm going to show you how you can make different expressions with the mouth really quick, and I'm not going to do this in full detail, but I've got my Cupid's bow, then that little middle piece that's kind of like the rounded heart that is the middle piece of the top lip. If I want to make a smiling mouth, I can curve up the edges of my top lip form. And if I want to make it open, I can also make the bottom lip forms kind of tilt a little bit. I know that looks weird right now, but if I use that as my guideline to kind of go around and make that top lip structure and that bottom lip structure, see how you can begin to see the open mouth? Now, I would see a little bit of the top teeth in here, so I'm going to go in and apply those. I know it looks really weird right now, but that just kind of lets me set the shapes in place. And then I would do the same thing that I did for shading, thinking about the top lip, the bottom lip, where the shadows are going to be. I'm going to speed up this drawing so you can just kind of see this part in process. So you can see here how if I just use the same shading techniques I was using on the closed mouth and take my time adding in highlights and shadows, I can eventually create an open mouth look, thinking about how the teeth would look, and then also thinking about how the teeth would have a shadow cast on them from the top lip, just like the eyes do from the top eyelid. So you're going to make a mouth. Challenge yourself by adding teeth. Make a simple one that's just closed, or challenge yourself a lot by adding one with open mouth and tongue. Good luck.